Yes.
I thought I got away with that, but I didn't.
Well, good morning, Great Master. So GM.
Good morning, Tatyana. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. I'm in Florida, so it's probably warmer compared to where you at. By the way, where are you right now physically?
Oh, I'm at the very, very top tip of Scotland in the Highlands at the moment. It's just had a massive storm, one of the worst storms we've had in 13 years, apparently. So it's very
Wow.
cold. It's lovely. I love it. Keeps you young. You wouldn't know us 378, would you? That's the weather. Oh, your face.
I love cold weather just for short time, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love the cold. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. I
Nature
just
is beautiful, right? Cold or hot,
absolutely.
right? That's
Yep.
what I like. You know, before we start, going into questions, I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank you. I really, really appreciate, your time and your space here, so thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. It's your
But I
fault
was,
that I'm here, so thank you.
yes, and by the way, I've heard that you're moving to Florida, so maybe if you're here, we can have, interview in person,
Yeah, that would be cool.
right? Please
Yeah,
let me know.
I'm supposed to be giving a speech in Egypt soon, so
Wow.
I probably go straight from there to the States. See what happens. Life has its
Yes.
own agenda. I try not to interfere with that.
Oh, that's a good question. Sorry, go ahead. You were trying to say.
No, that wasn't a question.
Yeah, okay. You said,
My thing is this: I wake up each morning as an empty glove, and life puts me on, and I just watch what it does with me. And it's always correct. It's always good. It's always fascinating, and it knows a lot better than I do. So I just leave it up to life. You're talking to the glove at the moment.
that's my next question, actually. Oh, I can hear the echo now. Everybody knows you by, titles or labels, right? Like grandmaster, man, human, teacher. But how do you feel like, what are you like if you take all the labels out, deep down?
There you go. I just gave you the answer. You're right.
Right?
All right, I know what you're saying. Silence is what I am. What am I? I am a chunk of planet. This body is just a chunk of planet, and there is an animating force that animates. No, gee Christ, I don't know where to start with that one. Let me go. Let me try and say this in a much simpler way. I don't know what I am. I don't know what life is. Nobody does. That's why we're called mystics, because we study and live with the mysteries of life. Because it's called a mystery, it doesn't mean that you have to go in there and dig it apart until it's not a mystery anymore. We're very strange like that. A mystery is a mystery. Mind is mind, and you will never know what it is. So to answer your question, this body is made up of everything I've eaten since I was born, which is planet. So this body is a lump of planet with all the memories that the planet has stored over its billions of years of existence. But a chunk of planet without a life force in it is just dirt, ashes to ashes and all of that rot. So somewhere along the line, this chunk of dirt becomes animated. Something enters into it and animates it. That's what I am.
So what enters? You said something enters into this. So what
Well, what do you want to call it? Mind, God, life, nature. Doesn't matter what you call it, you're wrong.
it's
And
other labels, right?
I can prove that right now, actually. Look out the window and look at a tree and ask yourself, to the rest of the universe outside of this tiny little box I call my brain, what would that thing be called that I call a tree? To the rest of the universe, what is that called? You won't get an answer. It has no name.
No, it
Has no,
doesn't matter.
it's just there and it's full of life. And that's what's happening. And life is studying itself. It has to be, otherwise it wouldn't be curious. When life is in you, you are curious. Therefore, life is a curious thing. If life is curious, it doesn't know everything about itself. If it did, it wouldn't be curious. It would go straight to the end result. It's really easy. It's really easy. You just look at life. Stop looking at people. Stop looking at whales. Stop looking at trees and look at the life that is in those things. And then you're studying the reality. You're studying the permanent, not the temporary. Every science on the planet today has never gone past dermatology. Not one. Even on the quantum level, they're still studying the skin of life. They're still studying matter. Science will never be complete until they start bringing the invisible things into play. What you are in reality is all of the ingredients that make up the real you, the you that is the life inside that body. They are all invisible. Willpower is invisible. Mind is invisible. Consciousness is invisible. Love, compassion, all of these things are invisible, just like the wind. So as a child, you would look at a tree blowing and you would go, oh, look at the wind. But you're not. You're seeing the effects of the wind being there. You're seeing the tree move. And in the same way, you can see that we have compassion. You can see that we have consciousness. You can see that we have love and all of these things by what we do. Some people portray other things, but anyway, so real life is invisible, and therefore you won't measure it with machines and technology and a human brain, which is made of matter. You just won't. You have to forget all of that. Leave that to the scientists. Science is still a child. It has to grow. It has to learn. Science is a perfect tool that is still developing. Unfortunately, it is being wielded by scientists, which are still people. We have to be very careful with science. It wasn't too many hundreds of years ago. Everyone would say, someone would ask a question about life and you would go and ask the priests. They know everything. Everything is about, if the priest said it, it's got to be true. Don't question the priest. So obviously religion based on belief is on its way out now, and science is in. And every day of your life from now on, you're going to hear, oh, science says this, therefore it must be true. Science says that, therefore it must be true. Understand that science doesn't speak. Scientists are the ones that speak. And we can't accept what they say as being gospel, because scientists, being people, you have narcissist scientists, you have serial killer scientists, you have emotionally upset scientists. Science itself, learn science and develop your own science. Add
Yeah.
that your love for the invisible, your mysticism, your spirituality. And then when you start to bring your spirituality and your knowledge of science up together, you've got the perfect tool.
There's a
Did you
difference
have
between,
anything at all to do with that?
there's a difference between believing and knowing, right? And you're right, lately I noticed even scientists, they, like a parakeets, they just repeat what they read somewhere instead of really trying to question everything, right?
Yeah.
Because
Book
things,
learning.
yes, we should be learning, we should be inquisitive like kids, right? Put under light every theory or statement, right?
Mm.
Instead of just taking as is, right?
Or
Like,
trying to experience it. If a mystic who studied the mind for 50 years starts to talk about mind, A scientist will immediately say, how can you prove that? We've got no evidence for that. We can't see that, so you can't say that's real. So you're talking to someone that has never ever gone internally and done a year's worth of serious internal study of their own mind. A scientist who has done the work, a scientist who recognizes that your own brain is also a form of technology that is designed to be an interface between the invisible and the material. If you have an idea, if you have an inclination, if you have a target in life, until it actually comes out of you, until you actually say it or write it down, it's still in the realm of invisibility. It's not in the world of materialism yet. So scientists won't go there. They won't go inwards. And I'm sorry to some of the scientists that don't belong in this category. There are scientists out there who are wonderful mystics, and they are wonderful scientists, and they're making huge progress in the world, both worlds. Unfortunately, they have to be warriors as well, because they're gonna, you know what the world's like in the science. They get trampled by their peers. They get ridiculed by their
Yes,
colleagues.
yes,
So, you know,
unfortunately.
we're children. It's disgusting.
Can I turn a little bit? So we had a really deep conversation before I started recording, right? A question when about absolute God, right? Again, all the different labels, but source, true source of creation. So if you're looking from that position to our world, to humans, the whole world, do we have a purpose? Is there a plan? Does
Oh
something
gosh,
matter?
yeah. Yeah, just watch it. It's
So,
easy.
so creator and observer, is it, by the way, all in one, two in one?
Yeah, there's only one. There's no observer and creator. There's it's one and the same
One.
thing. um, Let me formulate your question here. Are you asking what God is? So what you're asking?
Yes, yes, because I did share with you my experience, while meditating, that I felt, very powerful source, yet there was no emotions or feelings.
You meditated, you was having an experience, and then you put either a belief or a guess to what you were experiencing. And that's where you went wrong. You see what I mean? You have the experience, that's real. Then your brain will go, oh, let's call that God, or let's call that this, or let's call that bliss, or whatever. And that's where it gets ruined. So you move into the spiritual, you have an experience, and then because of habit and education, you go straight back to self and look for an explanation of your experience. That's the problem, and that's always been the problem. So is there a God? What does that mean? Are you asking
No,
what
I'm not
created?
asking. I know there is God because I believe there is a creator. I mean, that's not even belief. I know because nothing can exist just because of what the scientists, some
How do you
scientists
know?
say.
How do you know that?
I just know. It's something I just know. In more than that, I remember from childhood, and not just me, many kids draw eyes. That was the first actually drawing I did. I always draw eyes, 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 right? So
Eyes, the eyes.
yes, eyes,
Yeah.
yes. So subconsciously, I felt that I'm being watched, I guess. I'm trying to analyze. So, and a lot of kids do that, right? So we feel that we are being watched.
Hmm. So your question is,
So are we watched? Because we are watching, we're experiencing this life, or maybe the absolute is what experiencing this world through us. Is it the process? Is it the hierarchy?
yes, but you have to get away from this world. There's a lot more to life than this tiny little planet. This planet is one cell on a body that you are calling God. Just like right now, as you're speaking to me in the last 10, 20 minutes, probably 150 million cells have died and fallen off your body, and they are being replaced right now as we speak. The cosmos does exactly the same thing constantly. Things die, things are being born. Higgs bosons constantly reproducing subatomic particles every trillisecond. But it's like I said before, to know these things, you have to watch life. Don't watch the clothing. The nutrients. The nutrients are in the inside of the packaging, not the package itself. So you don't eat the package. The nutrients are inside the package. If you want to understand the energy of life, life itself, regardless of what you want to call it, you watch it and you see what it's doing. And as I mentioned before, it's curious. If you meet a dead person, and I don't mean someone who's dead, I mean someone who's not alive, someone who just can't get out of bed in the morning, got absolutely no interest in life whatsoever, don't shower anymore, they smell. These kind of people, they're not alive, they're just subsisting, basically. They have no curiosity, they have no life in them. When you wake them up, when you bring them back to reality, when you put life back into them, they are immediately curious about life again. They want to go out and start exploring life again. You take that away from them, they have no curiosity again, no exploration left in them. They're just nothing. So when you put life into something, that something immediately becomes curious and happy and loving and caring. These are the characteristics of life, apart from all being invisible as well. So if you want to call that, and we've just showed and pointed out that nothing has a name. This is why I won't call it God.
Yes.
So there's a thing. When it is in matter, when it becomes manifested in matter, that matter is extremely curious. What does that tell you? Life is curious. What does that tell you? It obviously doesn't know what's going on. It obviously doesn't know what it is. So full of love and excitement and curiosity and exploration, it is exploring itself through you and me and anything and everything that's living throughout the cosmos, on every planet that's got life on it. And life doesn't always exist on planets, by the way. That's just a silly thing that we've come up with. That's the best we can come up with the amount of ignorance that we still have as a race. Life can base itself on light. Life can base itself on subatomic particles. Life can base itself on plasma. Life can base itself on pretty much anything. It doesn't need water. The life that we are looking for does. And therefore we won't see other life that does not, because we will be blind to it, because we already have a preconceived idea of what we're looking for. But that's the monkey we inhabit.
Do you see other beings in different like dimensions what normal people cannot see?
Absolutely. And so could you. You could do it in 6 months training, easy.
Really?
Yes.
Are there multiple layers or they're all in one space?
Multiple layers in one space.
Very nice. Different shapes. Do they feel? Do they have feelings?
No, some do, some don't. Feelings are purely chemical. Purely chemical. The life forms that come from other dimensions that don't rely on physical matter don't obviously have chemicals, and therefore they're not using electrical impulses, they're not using chemicals. Your thought process is chemicals and electrical impulses. Both are made of matter. Chemicals are matter, electrical impulses are basically electrons running around, being electronic. So that's all matter. Emotions are chemical. They are another form of thought. You can't, for instance, you have a bad thought, you have a bad emotion. You can't have the emotion without the thought.
Correct. So
So it
we're
comes with,
defined by our shape pretty much, right? Because if we have different, body, right? Like a plasma body.
Mhm.
I would not feel the way I feel right now. I would not think the way I think, right? So who chooses,
Who
what
chooses
shape,
what?
what body I'm going to be in here? Who decides it?
Circumstance.
Circumstance?
Yeah, when the life, I'm going to use the very, very wrong wording, in the wisdom of God, when the physical universe was created, it was created with a very, very efficient, self-reliant, self-sustaining mechanism, in which case everything evolves through trial and error. Everything. There's no decision to be made. If you're born with one leg that's way too short and you can't eat as much as everybody else because you can't run as fast as everybody else, so you're going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger before everyone else because you just can't keep up with everyone. You won't be able to run away. That circumstance is going to dictate how long your life is going to be, etc. Yeah, there's so many things. There's no one answer. Karma is huge. Um, people, hmm, I've completely forgotten your question.
No, no, that's all good. I just feel like all this information, like if you take all this data, right, historical data for like millions of years when people behaved in a certain way, karma, if you upload all this data, it's like AI can calculate all the probabilities, all the lives. So I guess there is some kind of mechanism, right, outside of our world, which calculates, which, consumes all this data and produces all these models, including training models, what we have, right? And to make more accurate results, maybe. But can I go back to actually a very interesting question about the abilities? You said in 6 months I can have the abilities. I believe that we all have hidden abilities, right? To see, to hear, because right now we just see a very slim silver sliver from the spectrum, right? Even under some circumstances, I can see a little bit more than a normal eye can see. I'm not sure what I see, but I think it's like moving plasma because I see like we're like underwater. Everything is moving and alive. That's how I see it. But I'm very interested to develop this ability. So can you recommend to those who are seeking to see more and to know more and to discover other abilities, like what are the sources?
Well, I've spoken about this a few times. We're speaking about your third eye, basically. So, as you know, scientifically demonstrated, we see the colors that we see because of the cones and rods in our eyes. In the back of your eye, there are cones and rods. And because of the cones and rods, that allows us to see several different colors with different shades, of course. Anyway, that's the limitation of the physiological eye. Eye, not eye, eyeball. One of its limitations is the physical eye has a very, very small variety of colors that it can see. It can only see things that light cannot go through. For instance, light will hit a tree, bounce off the tree, and then hit you in the eyes, and now you can see the tree. You're not seeing the tree, you're seeing a reflection of the tree. So the light hits the tree, goes into your eyes. If that light could go through the tree, nothing would be bouncing back and hitting you in the eye, so the tree would be invisible to you. So that's how limited our eyeballs are. They're very limited. Now, when you are thinking and imagining things in your brain, you're not seeing it with these eyes. It's not like you can roll your eyes backwards and see your thoughts. That's not happening. So you can imagine you can imagine colors that your eyes wouldn't be able to see. You can imagine vivid, bright colors. You can imagine the sun shining on you. You can imagine yourself walking along a sunny beach with a blue sky and You can feel the warmth on your face. What are you seeing that with? It's pitch black inside your skull. There's no light. There's no daylight. It's just a big chunk of fat. How are you seeing those things? That's your third eye. You already have the ability. It's already there. You just haven't built it up into a big muscle yet. If your bicep is so weak because you just don't use it, it's atrophied, you got a problem. So if you want a bigger bicep, build it up, build it up, build it up, do exercises, lift heavier weights, and you'll get to a point where your bicep will start to bulge and burst out of your sleeve. That's what you want to do with your inner sight. So you start to exercise and build and use your inner sight consciously every single day. Do visualizations, build it up, build it up. And eventually it will grow and it will start to burst out of the sleeve that we call your skull. There's paintings of people that have done this. We call them halos. You see these paintings of
Yes, yes.
saints and angels and such things. These are beings who have expanded their inner sight outside of their skulls. And they now live in a world that is bigger than self, bigger than the I, bigger than the ego. And this is why they are seen to be saints and angels, because they're all loving, they're all knowing, they have great clarity. And that's because they've brought that third eye that can see colors. It can see, it's not limited by cones and rods. It's not limited by physicality. And so that third eye can see any color that will come into its awareness. So when you bring that out of the head, you will start to see interdimensional beings. You will start to see things, not necessarily alive. As you sit there on your chair right now in another dimension, you could be half sitting in a tree trunk, and there might be a bear having a wee on that tree trunk, and it's sharing the same coordinates you are right now, but it's a different dimension, so you're totally unaware of each other.
So is
However,
it, sorry, go ahead.
if something happens in the center of our galaxy, let's say there's a hiccup in the big hole, we've got a big black hole in the middle of our galaxy. Occasionally, black holes burp, like I just did. When a black hole burps, it sends a ripple through space, because space is made of something. It has a substance, it's made of shit. So like dropping a stone into a pond, you get ripples when you drop a stone into a pond. In the same way, when there's a movement in the center of the galaxy, ripples start to move out through space. Now, because space is also time, you get ripples in time as well. So when these ripples go past our planet, it affects things greatly. It affects the body, it affects our electromagnetic fields, it affects our sun, it affects mind, it affects everything. And during those moments, little tears occur. Like when you've got a perfect wave moving across the ocean, little bits fall off the wave and spray. It looks like spray to us. So you have a wave and there's spray coming off of it. So when a gravity wave comes through and affects ours, little tears occur, little things move away. And during those moments, some may only be half a second long, others might be half a minute long. But during those moments, you might think you've seen a ghost, but you haven't. You've seen an entity in another dimension momentarily. And in the same way, they get to see us occasionally. And we, to them, would also be ghosts.
Interesting. But can you see, or somebody else can see everything at once?
Yeah.
How? Is it by exercising and keeping the focus on
It's about
myself?
dedicating yourself to truth and not just making it an interesting hobby of your life. Like anything in life, if you're not dedicated to it, if you don't have an end result, if you don't have a lifelong aim, you won't succeed at too many things in life. World champion swimmers are world champion swimmers because they swim every day. They get up at 4:30 in the morning, whether it's raining, whether they've got a hangover, whether they've just fallen in love and they just want to see their loved one. That's the first thing they want. It doesn't matter. They go swimming regardless, and they have that dedication and they become the best in the world. And that goes for anybody, scientists, real scientists, good scientists
Yes.
that won't let go of their whatever it is that they're trying to do in life. Doesn't matter what you're trying to do, a skyscraper. You try getting up every day when the whole world is against you, when the economy is collapsing, when the weather is the worst weather you've had in 50 years, but you have decided to build a skyscraper and people do it. That's dedication. That is the kind of dedication that will give you the skills that you're talking about. Not building skyscrapers, but having that kind of dedication and
Natural.
clarity. Once you've set yourself up, once you go, okay, this is the question. On the day of my death, when I'm laying on my deathbed, what would I have to have done in my life for me to lay there and think to myself, that was great. I did everything I wanted to do with that life. I'm proud of my accomplishments and I am so excited about what happens after death. What is it in your life that you would have to do to have that happy ending? Don't tell me, of course. This is
You know,
what you
I think about this question actually quite often. So believe it or
excellent,
not.
man. You're already halfway there.
But
You
you
see,
know,
the brain is a funny thing. Being matter, it has to adhere to laws of physics. One of the laws of physics is energy of any kind will always follow the path of least resistance. Therefore, our brains are very lazy things. They don't like to stick at something consistently. Consistency is a dirty word to the brain. The brain is constantly looking for comfort and safety. That's it. That's what it's looking for. It doesn't want to dedicate 50 years to something that this invisible creature inside that we call mind or spirit is trying to get it to do. It doesn't want to do it. And this is why we have to discipline ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I'm not talking about the I, I'm talking about the self that grew inside you, the monkey that doesn't want to do this shit.
correct. Yeah, brain is a tool, right? So we need to use it
That's
wisely.
right. And if you don't use it, if you leave it up to its own device, it'll immediately go back to being lazy straight away. Drugs, couch, TV, yeah, that's life, according
Speaking
to
of,
the monk. Pardon?
sorry to interrupt you. Speaking of, can you share your daily routine? Like, what do you do, like, no matter what, every day? You wake up, what
Oh,
time?
yeah. Well, this morning I went to bed at 7:30 a.m. and then I was up again at 10. Normally I don't go to bed until 4 a.m., but I also get up early. It's different. This last week I slept 3 nights in the whole week. So there's none of that. I don't know. Like I said, I wake up each day as an empty glove and life puts me on. However, there is a maintenance routine that I do every day. I stretch for an hour and a half every day. I go to the gym and lift weights every day. I I was lucky enough to speak to Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 70s, and one thing he told me was that I really took on board. If you're in the gym for more than 40 minutes, you're doing something wrong. So 40 minutes to an hour in the gym, I do that. And then I will do an hour and a half to 2 hours of Kung Fu practice. If I don't have time because I'm speaking to people online, I do my Kung Fu while I'm speaking to people. Like you can't see me now, but I'm pressing my feet very, very hard against the floor, and I'm doing sets of 30 seconds with my legs. And that's toning things up. That's keeping blood moving. It keeps me warm. That's all there is to it. If you're standing in a queue, I will stand on one foot and practice balancing on one foot. I lift the other foot off the ground maybe 2, 3 millimeters. If you're watching me, you wouldn't know, but I'm balancing on one foot and then I'll go to the other one. I'm constantly watching which nostril is breathing because it switches over every 20 minutes. So does your ears. One ear will be smaller than the other, the whole. Every 20 minutes, it switches over, nadi to nidra. So I keep an eye on that just to make sure where my body is at. So to answer you the question, every day when I wake up, I will take stock of my mind and see where my brain is at. I will make sure that it's woken up correctly and it's calm. Then I will take a tonic that I take every single day, which is turmeric, ginger, black pepper, neem, manuka honey, and lemon juice in warm water. I take that every single day.
What do you eat during the day?
I have one meal a day, which is in the evening usually, but it's big. It's a big meal.
Just give us an example. Like what's your normal once a day meal is?
A big bowl of salad with as
Mm-hmm.
many colors as I can possibly have in there. Huge source of protein. A fruit salad, like I just had a fruit salad then just before I was talking to you, because I'm not going to have time tonight. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll eat for an hour slowly, just eat for an hour and make
It
sure
is.
everything's in there.
Well, thank you for sharing because I know a lot of people asking this question, but so you mentioned that you sleep not so long. Is there a reason? Because I'll tell you why. I know that, again, some people are saying it's really important to sleep for so long. Some people say actually, like Leonardo da Vinci used to sleep, I think, 3 times a day, 20 or 30 minutes. So he slept 1.5 hours, I think, total a day. And we know the result of it, right? So is it the reason that you do it on purpose? You're trying to minimize the number of hours of sleep?
No, when you, as a mystic, if you are a true mystic and if you have dedicated your life to that and that's what you do, it doesn't take long before your life is quite free from
Mm-hmm.
ego, free from problems, free from worry. You don't worry, you don't pay any attention to your thoughts. You pay attention to reality and the world around you and how your body is responding to the world around you. You maintain mastery of this part of life that you have control of, which is your own body, your own life. Um,
So you feel the presence. And it's funny, the
what,
word,
what, what I'm trying to get at is you're not hemorrhaging energy all day long. It's just you're not using it. It's not hemorrhaging. You're not wasting it. It's not leaking out of you by worrying. You know yourself, you can be having a lovely, lovely, wonderful day full of energy, full of wonderful things, and then something will happen and you'll get depressed and your heart will, something that just drags it out of you. Suddenly your body weighs a ton. Suddenly you can't walk. Suddenly you just don't want to get up tomorrow and face this problem that's just arisen in your life. And yet moments ago you were just absolutely full of life. So what happened? What took that energy away? What was it that suddenly made you so heavy in life you had to go and lay down for an hour and get your energy back? When that's not happening anymore, you're not losing energy. And this is happening to people all day long. And then they'll go to bed and have a nightmare and they've just lost more energy. So it's
mm-hmm.
got nothing to do with discipline. It's not something you try and do. It's just one of the wonderful benefits of reality and truth.
So you're trying always to be in presence, right?
You have to be. That's the only place where reality can live.
You know, the word present, it's funny. I've heard from somebody else, but the word present and to be in present, same word, right? So basically to be in present, it's your present,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
right? It's interesting. So if people just remember at least once a day that, right, it will make them be conscious. But it's interesting. You mentioned something. So even myself and millions of other people who work daily and the work sucks energy, right? Why people have heart attack? Why people just feel so tired? even though I eat clean, right? I exercise, but sometimes a moment can take so much energy. The question is, where does this energy go?
It doesn't go. You stop producing it.
Oh, so it's a block, like so it's like a flow and it just something blocks it, right?
Yeah, and you do it yourself. You make a very, very solid command internally. Stop. I don't want this. I don't want to be in this kind of
Oh,
situation. As soon as you say that to your body, it starts to shut down and you'll die very quickly. The Australian Aboriginals have a thing called pointing the bone, and it's a revengeful thing. So if you're being a bad person in the Aboriginal culture, and the medicine man gets told about you and thinks something has to be done about you, he will. He has a bone. I'm not telling you where it comes from, but he has a bone. And if he walks past you and just points the bone at you, and then he walks away, you'll be dead in 3 days. You'll just sit there under the tree and you'll just die because you believe that he's cursed you. You believe that
oh,
he's done that
that's
too.
I see.
But there's another guy there as well in the Aboriginal culture called the Godaichi man. And if he's been let loose on you, you're in trouble because he can come while you're asleep and put rusty nails inside your stomach cavity and grass, just a handful of grass and dirt, and he'll just put it in there and you won't know. And then you die, of course. You get sepsis very quickly and you just die a horrible death. And if you have an autopsy done, which rarely happens with the natives in Australia, it's against their tradition, obviously. But if you had an autopsy done, and sometimes it happened, they pull out rusty nails, no scar. They pull out this rotting grass. And of course, you can imagine the questions at the point, what the hell? And that's what that's what killed him. So anyway, getting back to it, as soon as this Aboriginal, happy, 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 sitting under a tree, watching the kangaroos cook, and suddenly another person walks by and points the bone at you and then keeps walking, your energy loses, it goes, drains out, and so does your life, and you're dead in 3 days. And we do it
So
to ourselves, but not so drastically.
is it because we believe in it?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Belief
it.
is your worst enemy. Belief is the worst enemy of fact, reality, truth, everything. It's really bad how people use the word belief. Even scientists use the word belief, which I find very odd. When you say I believe something, you're basically saying I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
What I'm thinking, I would really like it to be true. That's a belief.
You know, the root of the word believe is lie, by the way,
Yeah.
L-I-E.
If
So,
most dictionaries equate it with the word fantasy, but people still do. Oh, I believe this, I believe that. Well, you're not doing yourself any favors by saying that to me. You're going, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. You can't. You have to. Your brain is listening to what you say, and every time you say, "I believe this," "I believe that," your brain takes that on as a good thing. So you end
yeah.
up dying knowing absolutely nothing about the life you just lived, and you die with a head full of beliefs.
So what
Pathetic.
is this? So what is the threshold between what I can not even believe, but the reality I can create and live myself in versus what's really out there? Is it,
You just don't say, "I believe this." You go, "This seems to be real to me. I'm going to look into it."
but what's real?
What's real? What's real? Everything that is left when you stop thinking about it. That's what's real.
Because remember in the beginning of the conversation, when I asked you what you are, like what are you, how you feel, when it's like sand in a glass of water, right? When I ask myself this question, it falls down and there is nothing, right? So
Yeah. But people have been educated to see nothing as no thing. Nothing is a thing. You look up in the sky, you see millions and trillions of stars, but you'll see areas where there are no stars, well, that you can see. There are areas where there seems to be nothing. You can point at that nothing and go, look, there's nothing there compared to there where there's something. So nothing is a thing. You can point to it. And life is a nothing. It's a no thing. That means it doesn't have physicality. Doesn't mean it's not there.
Not lack of something, right?
Emptiness is a thing. If you didn't have emptiness, you'd have nowhere to put stuff. So emptiness is a thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to put stuff in it, in the emptiness. If emptiness wasn't there, you wouldn't be able to use it. It would be useless. It would be something. So no thing is a thing, and it's a very useful thing. You see how you can fuck yourself up with words?
Oh, I love it. Speaking of just a little bit of, I like to play with words. I think words are like the keys, right? And the more languages you know, the more keys you have. Like, for example, when you come into the room in English, you say there is nobody here, nobody. But in Russian language, you would say no soul. Interesting, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But
So,
these are all physiological. None of these words, none of these beliefs, none of these inklings will do anything for your spirituality whatsoever.
let me ask you another thing. There is a lot of talk, a lot of experiences people share about out-of-body experience. I had mine many years ago, actually, when I was little. Uh, and I remember again, I saw my life like in a movie. Uh, I remember I don't remember everything. I just remember the feeling of watching. I remember I was very sad, but the only thing I remember is the voice, and it was male voice, and he said, "Nothing matters." That's all I remember. So I always think about it, like whatever happens in life, that it doesn't matter, nothing matters. So
No, nothing matters. This planet could be destroyed right now and it wouldn't matter a damn thing to the universe. Like I said at the beginning of this conversation, during this conversation, 100 million skin cells have died and fallen off your body. Did you know? No, you didn't. Do you care? No, you don't. Has it made any difference to your life? Apart from you not smelling because you've got a whole bunch of dead skin cells stuck to you? No, it's made no difference to your life. Life cannot be stopped. The forms of life can be pulled apart, but life itself is not physical. When we say destroyed, when we say dead, when we say all of these ridiculous things, we're talking about matter. We're not talking about spirit. We're talking about things that can happen to matter. It can be pulled apart, it can be blown apart, it can fall apart. When you're talking about mind and awareness and consciousness, you can't pull it apart. It can't die, it can't wrinkle. Since the day you were born, your body's grown older. Your eyes don't see as well. Your ears don't hear as well. You're going to get wrinkles. Your hair's going to go grey. But the awareness of all of those things has not changed since the day you were born. It hasn't slowed down. It hasn't gotten wrinkly. It hasn't gotten old. It doesn't slow. It's exactly the same as it was the day you were born. It'll be that way the day you die. And it'll still be that way when you enter through the fontanelle of the next child that you inhabit. It's that simple.
I don't want to be reborn.
Oh, well, that's not the conversation. That was a quick jump, wasn't it? It won't be. That's your choice.
I hope I'll have a choice.
Why don't you want to be reborn?
I
Have you
and
shaped your life in such a way that it is so horrible that you don't want to be alive anymore? Is that why? Why do you say things like that?
it's a deep question, but I guess
It's not.
there's no, it's not okay. There's too much pain. I'm tired of the pain, and I
Why?
know
What's wrong with why don't you like pain?
I don't like pain.
Why not? That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you to repeat it. I asked you why not.
Why
I'm
not?
not being nasty. If you want to be a mystic, if you want to understand mysticism,
No,
I'm
no,
giving it to you right
I
now. You
I'm
question everything.
I'm trying to feel it. I'm trying to feel why I don't like pain. It just doesn't feel good.
So what?
Nothing matters, right?
Welcome to the world of reality. Do you want to try something? Just not right now, but if everyone out there wants to have a go at what it's like to discipline yourself into the world of reality and mysticism, try not to speak for 5 days. I give this to all of my first year students. Go out there. You can write, you can text, you can write little notes to give to the chemist or to give to the local shop owner, whatever it is you need to do. You can write, text, email. It doesn't matter. You can do all of that. Don't say one word. Do not speak. Act as though your tongue has been removed. If you do say a word, if you do break your silence, you start again. And what
Well,
is going to happen is you're going to get so sensitive to this constant internal chatter, it will change your life forever. Just that one little exercise. And don't think you're doing well, because in reality, I would normally give you 6 months to a year of not speaking if you really wanted to go into certain deep areas of self. That's just one little exercise. Try
yeah,
that.
no, thank you for sharing. Actually, lately, um, I've been pretty much silence except for my work, you know. So it just feels like when I don't talk, I accumulate, I have more energy and I'm
Oh,
happy for some
absolutely.
reason.
Yeah. When I was first, well, not first, but some of my training, I had to spend 1 year totally blindfolded, blind for 1 year.
Wow.
And you learn to see with your energy field and with your third eye, to a point where your hearing almost becomes another pair of eyes. Anyway, it's irrelevant. So I would spend 1 year blind, and then the next year I spend not speaking, and the next year I had melted beeswax stuffed in my ears for 1 year.
Wow.
Every now and then you take it out and you have to clean it, and then you put it back in. So I was deaf for 1 year. Um, Little things like that. When you do that, other things in your body wake up that most people never experience. This is the realm of mysticism.
That is fascinating. So actually our eyes and ears limit our abilities, you can say.
Yes, it can do, depending on what it is you want to do with your life.
To know the
If
truth as we started, right?
Yeah, but I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about people. Some people, they're not interested in anything outside of their work and getting drunk and going home and having dinner and watching the television and allowing the TV to bathe them in its glorious warmth for the night, and go to bed and then get up and go back to work. That's their life. They don't want to think about anything else. So for these people, they don't need these other
No, they wouldn't watch it. They wouldn't have this question. So to be honest, I don't think about them. So, but let me ask you, because I'm not just me, a lot of people are interested in this kind of ability. So siddhis, they call them, right, in
cities.
Vedas,
Cities, yeah, yeah.
right? So I know that I read Vedas that, people used to, become very tall, very small, change the shape. They can be very light, like a gas, right? So apparently we have this in our DNA or in our programs. How can we return those abilities?
Oh, you have to separate yourself from the education that stopped it in the first place. Every person on the planet will tell you about some supernatural experience they had as a child.
Yes.
It's in everyone, and it is there when you're born, and you have the abilities. Babies, when you can train yourself to remember your birth, and when you do that, you start to remember what you used to see as a baby before you could speak, and you will start to remember seeing things that other people obviously weren't seeing. but you can't say anything because you're a baby and you can't talk yet. But if you take yourself back to those memories, you will see and feel and re-experience those skills that most people lose by the age of 10. It's quite easy to do. It's another thing. The method is, do you want to know the method?
Yes, please.
Every night when you go to bed, you go over every second from the moment you've just laid in bed. You go back through the day, every second of the day, until you get to the morning when you woke up. And do that for 1 week. Remember the whole day backwards, from now all the way back to when you woke up this morning. Do that for 1 week. Then you reverse it. Then you go to bed and you think about what happened from the morning all the way down to when you go to bed. You're not going to get anything from the memories, but what you are doing is building the bicep of your memory banks. You're learning to develop and build a much stronger and healthier memory than most people will have. Then you start to remember what you did today, and then yesterday, and then the day before. You start to go back 3 or 4 days at a time. You do that for another week. At that point, after the 3rd or 4th week, you'll be having very vivid, lucid flashes of memories from childhood. Eventually, you'll remember being born. And then if you want to push it, you'll remember dying just before you were born, 40 weeks before you were born, to be precise. To the person dying, however, it feels like about 5 minutes. I jumped a bit there. When you die and you see the hole, the little light at the end of the tunnel, which is your new mother's vagina, by the way, the light is wherever it is you're being born into. But you'll remember your death, you'll remember dying, you'll remember your previous body closing down. You'll remember if anyone was speaking to you at the time, you'll remember those words. And then you'll enter the darkness. And if you feel like it, you'll allow yourself to float towards the light. And like I said, that will take it will feel like about 5 minutes, but it's actually 40 weeks that went by because you've left the physical for a moment, you're out of the physical realm, time ceases. There's no time once you're out of the physical realm. Time is also a physical phenomenon. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
exist.
exist outside of physical, right?
No. It doesn't exist in the physical either, but I'm not going to go into that. That would
Yeah.
be a 3-hour documentary.
So what matters?
Presence.
Present. Present. Present is present.
Your job, the reason you are there is for life. And I'm going to use several words that are crap and have no meaning whatsoever, but it'll suffice for a lot of people in the world. When you are just being present and you have no personal agenda, you are now usable for life. Life can now use you to live through you and understand itself through you. So being present is the greatest gift and the greatest service you can offer to God, if that's what you want to call it, to life, if that's what you want to call it, to spirit, if that's what you want to call it. Whatever that thing is, when you are being present, you have met it halfway. Think about this for a moment, if you have to think at all. When you're talking about reality and truth, you're talking about something that actually really exists, not a belief, not a probability, not a possibility, but actual, really real stuff. If it's real and if it's true, it can only live in a place that's real. And the only place that's real is now, the moment, being present. That's the only thing that's real. The moment you stop being present, where do you go? You're living in a virtual reality. You're living in the past, or you're fearing a future, which is an assumption. Neither exist. So how the hell do you expect to find truth by using your thoughts, which are the past, or your assumptions, which are the future? You won't find reality or truth in either of those places because they don't exist. It's simple. You are, by trying to find reality and truth in anywhere else other than the moment, you are offending truth. Truth itself can't be offended, but yeah, that's what you're doing. You're offending it, trying to, because you're basically saying truth can't be real because I can find it in the past. I can find it in my thoughts. I can find it anywhere in my head. I want to find truth, I can find it. But that's just your imagination. That's bullshit. You can imagine as much as you like about truth, but the truth is you're imagining things.
I know my brain is on fire. But you know what? I understand, and I was thinking about how you live every day, starting like an empty cup. So I'm trying to live like this as well, just to do what really, you know, my soul, my consciousness really wants, what I want, whatever you call it or label it, right? Not
It's
what other
difficult.
people, want. That's why I lost all my friends. I have just one left. So because I feel like well, well, to be honest, I'm not trying to limit myself again because I'm so dedicated to live as my soul wants, and what I think is right, not that somebody else think is right, right? That's why the all this norm thing, I'm a little bit an outsider, you can say, but it's okay, I don't
When
care.
Tatyana, when you say my soul, who are you talking about?
Exactly, yes. That's why I'm afraid even to label anything because
Good. Now
it's
just
just a
shut up.
label. Yeah, it's just a label.
Just shut up. Hence, you can now guess what happens when you don't talk for 1 week. You just shut up for 1 week. Watch what happens. Watch how much reality presents itself to you when you're not gabbing about it all the time. And this is going to sound silly and trivial, and it is, but it's an example that I would like to put across. If you point out a bird flying overhead and someone says, "Wow, how beautiful," are they looking at their opinion of what beauty is, or are they actually looking at what you pointed at? They're looking at their thoughts. They're not seeing what you pointed at. If you
Yes.
point to a beautiful bird and you just go, "Oh, look at that," someone who is present will just look at the bird with a smile on their face. They wouldn't dare soil it with opinions of beauty or ugly or I don't like those, any of that. You just see it for what it is, and it's beautiful, and you'll get a rush and you'll get goosebumps. That's reality. As soon as you go, "Oh, how beautiful," the feeling's gone. Once again, I said this many years ago, if you're walking through a forest and suddenly you come to a clearing in the forest where no other human being has ever set foot, and you can tell just by looking at it, and it is so ancient and so beautiful and so full of wildlife, the moment you see it, you go, "Oh," and you just well up with this energy and goosebumps and cold shivers, and it's like, wow. The moment you go, wow, oh, how beautiful, all that feeling's gone. Why?
Yeah.
Because you left the experience and you went inside to replace it with an opinion.
Yeah, the focus shifted, but it's even worse if you take a picture because you're not even enjoying it anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't start me on that one. I don't have a phone and I don't have a computer and I never will. And here's one of the reasons why, if you are interested. If you live to be 99 years old, Tatyana, your average person, you will sleep for 33 of those years. Everyone will. That's 8 hours a day. Your average person today statistically spends between 6.5 hours to 10 hours a day scrolling on a 4-inch screen. That's a fact. I see it every day. That's
Yes.
another 33 years. You've got 33 left. Out of that 33 years, your average person will spend 15 of them stuck in their head, not seeing who walked past, not hearing what their mum just said. They're thinking, they're fearing, they are hurting, they are emotional, they are opinionizing, judging, fantasizing, stuck in their head, doing something for 15 years. That leaves 18 years. 18 years out of 99 that you will actually see. That's this generation. So if you're lucky enough to live 99 years, you'll see 18 of them. You'll miss the rest. That's disgusting, is it not? Which is an opinion.
I'm trying not to look at this, even though
I
I
know
see
most
it.
people will. Most people go, "Oh, gee," and then they'll go on their phone and go, "Did you hear what he just said?" Yeah.
That's a big thing, but I'm trying not to even put my judgment on this, even though it's a fact, right? In the families, you can see that the whole family is on vacation and each of them on the phone, like you said, right? It's very sad.
I went to the gym last week, and there was 3 young fellows went onto this big machine called a crossover machine. Anyone that goes to a gym will know what that is. They were all 3 were on their phones doing this. They'd set the machine up, they'd set everything up. I walked in there, I watched and I waited, scroll, 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 waited, nothing's happening, scroll, scroll, scroll. So I thought, okay. So I took the handlebars off of the machine, I put the weights up to what I wanted. I did 3 sets of the exercise I wanted to do, and then I moved on to another machine. I looked back, and one of the people went, "Oh, did you take the weight off the machine?" He said that to his friend. 45 minutes later, they all left. And I'm pretty sure not one of them moved the machine. I'm pretty sure not one of them lifted a weight. And as you said, I'll go into a restaurant, 5 people in a restaurant. It's grandpa's birthday. Everyone's sitting here doing this. Grandpa, who's 75 years old and wouldn't know what a mobile phone is anymore, he's just sitting there like this at the end of the table. Everyone else is scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. I almost burst into tears. It was such a sad sight. Horrible. Anyway, it's the next epidemic after this one. We are embarking upon a very serious mental health epidemic right now, more serious than people might think. And it's due to loneliness. It's all internet based, but loneliness. People think they are being social. People think they have lots of friends. People think they are being out and about with their friends. People think this, people think that. But in reality, it's all done in chat rooms, it's all done online. And if you ever put one of these people in a room full of 30 other people, they would probably freak out and run because they're just not used to being around people. They thought they were, but they're not. So, anyway, let's not go down that road. The world is in for a very, very nasty shock with this particular epidemic. For some strange reason, it's affecting men more than women, statistically speaking, because men are meant to be able to be on their own. Men don't cry, all of this bullshit that gets put on people. I know women have their own issues that gets put on them as well, wrongly so. But with men are becoming very, very suicidal, very, very lonely, very, very depressed, and there's many reasons for it. Everything inside a man, this is going to sound strange, and I'm trying to stay away from role playing here, but a man it's illegal for a man to protect his family now in most countries. If someone comes into my house to kill my family and I kill that man, I go to jail. I'm not allowed
Not
to do
here
that.
in
I know,
Florida.
in some countries I'm saying, not in, but it's coming to your country as well. I can tell you now. It's just the way it is. It's taking the power away. So if you need to be protected, you have to make a phone call and the police will come. You're not allowed to protect your home and your children, especially out and about. Let's get away from the home. Let's say you and your children are in a park and you get attacked and you push the person away. This person is a horrible, obviously nasty person that's just out and about to cause trouble for everyone concerned. And let's face it, there's people out there that just want to see the world burn. And that's all there is to it. But if someone came out into the park, a picnic ground, and attacked my family, and I pushed that person, and that person fell over and hit their head and died, I go to jail. I'm not allowed to protect my family.
Is it Kali Yuga?
Hunting. And this is what's in men's heads. I don't have to go hunting for my family because the supermarket does that. I don't have to. You see what I mean? It's for men.
Grandmaster, look, just step a little bit to the side. Everything you're describing, unfortunately, I see it every day as well. But is it part of this scenario what life wants to go through? Like, is it Kali Yuga? You know, Kali Yuga, right? The
No, it's
downfall.
trial and error. This is an
Uh,
error. Life is trial and error. We see it all the time.
to be
And
honest, I can
we're going,
imagine. Sorry to interrupt you. Like, what's happening? Like, if you want to talk about it, because I was trying to calm myself thinking that it's part of the life because it's so crazy and it just doesn't, it's like upside down from normal, right? So I'm thinking maybe just life wants to experience this absolutely crazy things which are not.
you're right, but life isn't making this happen on purpose. It's trial and error. This is going to go down a wrong road. It's not going to turn out well, and life will go, whoop, that's not working, and it will change, just like the dinosaurs. They were a bad idea. They were a good start, but they were too big. They were eating everything, including
But
the
I think
trees.
it's already obvious that it's not right. So, or it's not
Sorry?
obvious for some people, like what's happening, like, the things you're talking about, not being able to defend your family. I mean, every human with a little bit of critical thinking understand it's wrong, right? What's happening. So why it's not being changed?
Oh, it is. It'll change, but you can't be, you can't be impatient about this. Life has its own agenda. Life has its own way of doing things. Life might take 1,000,000 years to change things.
Oof, that's too
If
long.
if our world is this bad for 100,000 years, compared to eternity, it's less than the blink of an eye. So you have to get your head around the correct timing of it all and the correct ratio, if that makes any sense. What I
Is
mean
there,
is this.
sorry, is there balance or
Of course there's a balance, always balance. You've got to think a lot bigger, Tatyana. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about our planet, it's about the universe. The universe is a living thing. You like to call it God, some people like to call it life. It's irrelevant what you call it. You're wrong. It doesn't have a name. We've already gone through that demonstration with
yes?
the tree. And it doesn't know what it is. You're not taking everything into consideration that I've told you today. And this is, again, this is what you have to do if you want to be a mystic. Everything has to be taken into consideration. Compared to eternity, if it takes 5,000,000 years to make a change, that's like that. Compared to eternity, changed it just like that, not a problem. But because we are so small, because our lifespan is very, very, very small, like the dirt that we inhabit can only hold itself together for 80 to 100 years. So 1,000 years, relatively speaking, is a long time to us. There's creatures out there that can live 2,000, 3,500 years because they're not made of matter. It takes that long for them to dissipate into their next way of being.
Understood. So having, sorry to interrupt you again, but having learned what you learned, in the monastery for all these years, can you see the future? Does it have one scenario or it has multiple scenarios?
It has multiple scenarios, but all of those multiple scenarios are necessary for the one direction. And what I mean by that is, in order for you to just be sitting there talking to me, there's 100 trillion bacteria all working together hand in hand just for you to be able to sit there. That's one world that you are unaware of.
Yes.
Then you've got your parasites that are living in your body right now. They don't have anything to do with bacteria. They don't have anything to do with you, but without them, you would die. You need them. It's what you are. Your body is a community, and there are many scenarios of life going on in that community in your body. You have bacteria, you have viruses, you have internal organs, you have parasites. All of these different species are all living together. Compared to each other, they would see each other as aliens from other planets. But they're
That's
not.
true.
It's just that one came from your ear and another one came from between your toes. And they've just bumped into each other around your belly button. And that would seem like alien contact to one of them. You see what I mean? And it's as above, so below.
Yes, yes. And the toss then, right? I read his 32 tablets. By the way, he was a mystic. I don't know if you're familiar with his tablets,
Yeah.
right? And it's I read it once a year because I keep on forgetting, or it's new things change. But it's interesting because he left. First of all, he lived for thousands of years, right here, and he left to study because he said that he saw what the other teachers can do. He wanted to learn more, right? But he said he'll be back. So there is always room for learning more and more, right? The knowledge is unlimited, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, life is learning about itself. You've got to go back to that. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about us either. It's
Mm-hmm.
about life. It's got bugger all to do with what we learn. It has everything to do with what life is learning about itself through us. It
Yes,
has
and
the ability to create planets. It has the ability to create human beings. It has the ability to be an earthworm. It has the ability to be a tree, all at the same time. It has the ability to be dead and alive, all at the same time. It's a mysterious, wonderful, incredible thing, and it knows that about itself. And while ever we're off on our own pathetic little agendas and fantasies, while ever we're doing that, we're not on the same page as life.
thank you.
But what life will learn from that is this little thing that it created as a little side experiment that's called a brain isn't really working as well as it should. Our brain
How
doesn't.
should it work 100%?
Well, that shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't be. So it's a
Life,
bad tool.
a brain did not create life. Life created the brain. You can go a lot further than the brain when it comes to reality and life. Brain came along a lot much later in life than
Oh,
life itself. Life has been around for billions of years before it invented a brain. And it's just seeing, let's see if this works. Let's see if a brain works. Why not? Life is a child. If life is 20 billion years old, it's still not a fetus compared to eternity. Got a long
I
way to go.
agree. It makes sense. Yes.
It's learning, it's learning, it's learning. The planet is learning. What the planet learns is good for your body. And that's it. What spirit learns is good for mind. And that's that. So life itself is learning about itself, and the planets are learning about what life is doing with them.
You know, that sounds so much like an AI that works actually. So, so what you just said, that's how it works. The
Well,
data, you know, first of all, it's you know, accumulation of all this data, then, you know, data, we train models, right? And then it itself and recreates something else. So it's very interesting,
it is. It's brilliant. It's
right?
incredible. How are
So
we going?
say it again. No,
I
pretty
was
much.
just
I was gonna first of all thank you again. You know, it's a very deep conversation, and none of the questions I
no.
put, you know, I didn't ask, so it was very natural, you know, conversation. So thank you. But can I ask you? Can you just say something to people what you want to say, based on your feeling as a wrapping up thought?
I have no idea what to say to people other than,
Those who look for the truth and seeking the truth.
oh, I see what you mean.
Yes.
You won't find truth in your education. Your education is pretty much made up of hearsay, bookwork, other people's experiences. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of that. I'm just saying that that is the status quo. That's what's happening at the moment. If you want to know absolute truth, not relative truth, our education is all about relative truth. And relative truth is absolutely necessary to survive in a physiological realm that we live in. Absolute truth is a different animal. It's a difference between a dog and a wolf. They would seem the same, but they're not. They are worlds apart as far as creatures go. Relative truth is all about the body, it's all about matter, it's all about physics, and it's all about survival. Absolute truth encompasses all of that and much, 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 much more. Absolute truth encompasses mind, spirit, life, everything. It's different. So learn to be in the moment if you want to see truth, because truth only lives in the moment. Truth can't live in the past, and that's a truth in itself. Truth can't live in assumptions, which is the future. That's a truth in itself. So as soon as you start talking about truth, it'll turn in on itself. You can't really talk about it. So no, I don't have anything to say to people. Just, if you're worried about the world, start meditating, start bringing yourself back to the moment. Learn not to fall into the rabbit hole of your past. Learn to break free from your ego, which is an accumulation of somebody else's education system. Learn to break free from your karma. Learn to break free from the past. Stop assuming a non-existent future. And without trying to do anything else, truth will present itself to you very stark, very blatant, very quickly.
Thank you. I was gonna ask what's the truth then that you came, but I guess it's everybody's journey, right?
No, it's not. Truth is the same for everyone. Absolute truth is the same for everyone. Relative truth is different to each
So
other's.
what is the truth?
The absolute truth is what I've told you. It's what's there when you stop thinking about it. You just
Nothing? Silence?
watch life without a single thought, and you will see truth occurring right in front of your eyes. And you'll see this huge creature. You'll just see life moving. Whereas yesterday you would have gone, there's a tree, there's a bird, there's a cloud, there's a dog, there's a car, there's a planet, there's a sun, there are more planets, there's a galaxy. That's all thought. They're all labels, they're all names. None of those things exist except inside your head.
Programs.
Yeah, it's not really called a tree. It's not really called a planet. It's not really called this. It's not really called round. It's not really blah, 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 blah. So when you see it like that, your thoughts are breaking it up. I've already said that today in this conversation. It's like when you see your friend walking down the street, you don't break your friend up into every individual little component that you're looking at. And when you stop thinking and replacing what you see by, sorry, when you stop superimposing your thoughts over everything you see to satisfy your need to think that you know everything, which is why we do it, you'll stop breaking reality up into little pieces. And what you'll see before you is the same world that everyone else sees, but you see it as one huge, big living thing called life. Whereas everyone else does not see that. Everyone else sees lampposts and buses and cars and houses and people, and they break it all down into 100 million trillion things. It's like finding the toenail. If you found the toenail of an animal that lived 20 million years ago and trying to understand what that animal looked like just from its toenail alone, it's just not possible. And trying to understand life by looking at a tree isn't possible.
Yeah, because people look through their own ego or experience in the books in the school, so it goes the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the past, and it's someone
It's the
else's
past.
viewpoint. You have to understand also that when life made all of these forms, us and aliens and all the different forms of life throughout the cosmos, let's say there's 100 gazillion trillion billion million of them. That means that life has the ability to see itself through 100 gazillion trillion billion million viewpoints, including yours and mine.
Yes.
And yet, out of that 100 gazillion billion trillion million viewpoints, not one of them has the same viewpoint you have. That makes you unique. So every view is
Yes.
unique.
Mm,
So
yes. Well,
to be educated on one viewpoint, it's not going to work.
very deep. I'm just feeling it. Sorry. My brain is gone.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was boring you.
No, no. I'm actually when you say I'm feeling it. So I'm like oh, I forgot the name of this delta alpha, like the brain waves. It's somewhere in the theta, I guess, somewhere that I'm almost actually I've done some of the hypnosis, with my friends. So it's almost on that territory. So for me it's very easy to be in that stage of being hypnotized. So that's why I was sorry. So by the way,
Okay.
do you just really quick, sorry, we're already like past our time, but quick question.
Oh,
Do you
shit.
have some kind of practice practices similar to hypnosis or maybe self-hypnosis that you can go in different layers of perception?
No. Or, yes, you can do that, but it would be a pointless thing. The aim is omni-perception.
Oh, got it.
There's some very, very old symbols. The symbol of the wheel with all the spokes going to the center, the spiritual symbol of the wheel. That's telling you that the empty space in the middle of the wheel where the axle goes through, that empty
Mhm.
space is the most important part of the wheel. If that wasn't there, you wouldn't have anything to put an axle through, and that would make the wheel useless. So it's the empty space in the wheel that gives it its worth and its strength. And now, in the same way, you are that space in the middle of the wheel, and it is your job, if you are to reach the heights that we're talking about, each spoke represents something to be aware of. That means Be aware of your breathing, be aware of your body, be aware of the outside world, be aware of what's going on the inside, and be aware of what your mind is doing at all times. Being aware of everything, omnipresence, omni-awareness
I
is what
love
you're
it.
aiming for.
I love it. As a matter of fact, again, with my friends, with my friend who we're practicing daily, is this, present self-awareness and having these three feeling again labels of, first of all, being here. You said you feel the nostrils, right? Feeling the body, but we're feeling the presence and love, right? Because it's like ether. And through this, I think that's why I feel people very easily, you can say. I cannot move the objects like you showed in one of the video. I want to learn that. That's fascinating. But I really feel people, like how they feel, what they think about me on different level, not like the thoughts reading, but I feel it. It's through this, self-awareness.
Everybody feels it, but they're not aware of it. So you're
Mm,
correct. It has to be through dedicated self-awareness.
it's a problem.
So, Tatyana, you've
Thank
had
you
me
for your
here for
time.
an hour and a half now. I have to
Thank
go.
you. Thank you so much for your time, Grandmaster. I really appreciate it, and I hope we'll continue this conversation when you're in Florida. When you have time.
Uh, okay, not a problem at all. No, I've loved this. This has been really nice. Nice
Thank
conversation.
you.
You're very easy to speak to. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm stopping the recording. Second.